Hi, Vinnie. Thanks very much for having me today. Today, I'll be talking about how to build regenerative business in the circular economy, which is part of our sustainability solutions here at SAP. I'm Natasha Pergl. I'm here in London, and I'm leading the circular economy topic for our consumer products industry, and also work kind of very closely on all of the other sustainability solutions. And today, just wanted to share kind of an overview of our strategy at SAP. This has got an incredible amount of investment and focus from our board, and just share some of the things that we're doing, particularly focused on circular economy and management of resources, and also share kind of a preview of a very exciting solution we'll be launching in less than a month, SAP Responsible Design and Production. So I'll spend about 10-15 minutes talking, obviously leave some time for questions at the end, but please do interrupt me as we go through it.
By the way, I like the fact that you are talking about a circular economy. Too many people just talk about renewables. It's much bigger than that, right? So I'm glad you're looking at it as a complete regenerative kind of economy. So thank you.
Yeah, and I think the circular economy provides an actionable framework for us to do something about this. And that's kind of very much led by the work of Ellen MacArthur Foundation, who we work with very closely. So I just wanted to start with our vision, our North Star in terms of what SAP is doing and thinking about sustainability. And this is really about creating a network of intelligent, sustainable enterprises. We know sustainability is top of mind for our customers. This is being driven by a whole multitude of factors around regulation, around kind of pressure they're facing from consumers, from investors, from employees. So it's something they're having to take very seriously. And it's really a huge business transformation challenge that they have, because they're kind of currently having to adapt and tackle these challenges within the constraints of their current organization. So this is our vision that Christian Klein shared at our Sapphire kind of customer conference a few months ago. And it's really about how do we help customers leverage the insights that we already have around material flows? How do we then connect those organizations? Because this is really a system-led challenge that we're facing, which ultimately will drive what we call kind of regenerative outcomes, which is really looking at positive outcomes for nature, not just tackling kind of the net zero goals that we've heard kind of going into COP26, but really how do we do good? How do we do better? So this is a recap of our sustainability strategy, and it's really focused on a few key areas. The first is very much holistic steering and reporting. We actually have 3 planned sustainability solution launches by the end of this year. Holistic steering and reporting, the solution's called Sustainability Control Tower. This will be leveraging kind of existing benchmarks and frameworks that our customers are using to track progress against sustainability goals that they've set themselves, or voluntary agreements that they've signed up to via various NGOs. So this is really important for companies to be able to share progress, and also if you can't measure what you're managing, then obviously you need to understand that and be able to report against that as well. We're also looking at 3 areas around climate action. So we've launched product footprint management, which is helping organizations kind of track kind of carbon with regards to products, and understanding, how do we manage the environmental footprint? Circular economy is what I'll go in today. So looking at how do we use the circular economy principles of eliminating waste, keeping materials in use for as long as possible, and regenerating natural systems? Are we talking about the solutions that will support that? And also social responsibility. The people aspect here is really important, because we cannot forget people when thinking about the environment. So we also have a number of solutions that will help to kind of safeguard that. And we also want to leverage all of the kind of industry cloud innovations that we have already, and make sure that we're connecting those insights that customers might already have around products they've made, for example, or how they move across the supply chain, and kind of tee those up with the solutions and new innovations that we're launching. So just to zoom into circular.
By the way, a decade ago when SAP had a sustainability initiative, we talked about it before we started. I thought the focus was a little too much on analytics. I'm glad you're getting into actual circular economy, because it's, you're in the enterprise. So you should be helping people reduce emissions in the labs, on the shop floor, et cetera, et cetera. So I wanted to see a lot more operational action from SAP. So this is good to see.
Exactly, thank you. So just to start with some context, and lots of this will be familiar, the relationship between climate change and the use of material is actually, closer than you might think. So it's said that we use collectively 100 billion tons of material resources each year, but less than 9% of those are being recycled or reused, which is really, showing that the take-make-waste economy is at a tipping point, and we're dealing with a huge waste crisis. And if we look at some of the stats, 45% of greenhouse gas emissions comes from the use of materials. 90% of biodiversity loss is due to the extraction and management of those raw materials. And there's obviously like other health implications, around things like plastics as well. So this is the challenge that we kind of face collectively. And in terms of how we think of this at SAP, we think of sustainability in two ways. First is exemplar. We have to make sure that we're running our own operations sustainably. So this is lots of work that's being led by Daniel Schmidt, our Chief Sustainability Officer, and is the reason that we've been #1 software company in the Dow Jones Sustainability Index for the last 14 years. But the focus for today is how do we enable our customers to create more sustainable business value? How do we help customers embed this into their core business processes? Because that's what's needed to make the transformation. And we think of this in kind of three ways, how we support customers. So first is helping them understand global local regulations. So if we look at packaging and plastic taxes, for example, it's how do we help them comply with that? How do we help them track what that means for the products and packaging that they produce if we're thinking now about circular economy? How do we then help them use those insights to help achieve their core business goals, which will be around how do we eliminate waste? How do we drive social responsibility across supply chains? We've really seen like a huge change in our customers' business strategies. It's no longer a CSR report on the side. If we look at what Unilever, Adidas, lots of organizations are doing, it's embedding sustainability into the heart of what they're doing. And it's all focused on how do we ensure that, what we produce and how we make stuff, how do we make sure that we're being responsible and mindful of what we're doing? And lastly, when it comes to business transformation, it's actually about how do businesses operate in a different way? How do we make sure that we can help our customers support their consumers in using products in a brand new way? So now it's very much kind of focused on a product consumption model when we think about consumer products or retail or fashion. But how do we support our customers make the transformation needed for new circular business models? Because that's what's going to create new value creation, also drive growth. We've seen research from New York Stern University, so they've done quite a lot of research led by Tensi Valen, and 7.6% of sustainability marketing products are driving a huge amount of growth for the organization. So we are seeing that consumers are making behavior changes, and our customers need to support that. In terms of our strategy, our mission is very much how do we help build regenerative business in a circular economy, and kind of very deliberately chosen the word regenerative business, which is kind of language that we've kind of signed up and support as part of the Ellen MacArthur framework. We see this is really important going into COP26, key environmental moment happening in time, taking place in the UK in just a few weeks. We want to make sure that we're being customer first and led by our customer feedback, which is why we want to work with the most ambitious and sustainable of all of our customers. And we're also doing that via consortiums like the various plastic pacts around the world. We know that we can't lead system change without our NGO partners, including Ellen MacArthur Foundation and World Economic Forum, to name but a few. And we're really looking at three priorities. And in terms of the materials and industries we're focused on, if we go back to that 100 billion tons of materials being used each year, that's based on plastics, textiles, batteries, food. So we see these as our key focus area. We're starting with plastics because that's where we're kind of seeing most of the regulation and therefore kind of the pressing, compelling need for the customers that we work with. And we're using those circular economy principles to focus our innovations. So they are eliminating waste and empowering business to do so. How do we circulate materials so we get more value out of those and keep them in use? And how do we regenerate through shifting to new innovative business models? So that very much guides our innovation and our portfolio. We're kind of focused on the here and now on the eliminate pillar, but then we're looking at 5 to 10 year roadmap across the other areas. And of course, we want to leverage what we do already. We already serve a huge number of customers across a multitude of industries. We want to make sure that we're building on those insights we already have. We're also working together with our startup ecosystem via SAP IO, and we've actually taken on board a whole new raft of amazing startups that will support us in that. And we also have a global partner network. So for example, one of our delivery partners for responsible design and production is Accenture, because of their expertise in the circular economy space. So in terms of our kind of strategy,
why would you say? See, this is something that I think you're going back to your past. Design firms, Accenture is a very good firm, not in an operational level. You know, I mean, when you're designing stuff, you need a lot more operational experience. I mean, what does Accenture know about plastics, polymers, and so on? I mean, it worries me that Accenture keeps going back to its white collar comfort zone. But anyways, keep going.
So I think with Accenture, it's you know, leveraging their kind of strategic expertise around the circular economy. We appreciate that we have to work with like a multitude of partners. So there are, you know, various partners we're looking at of all different sizes that will help us understand, you know, more about the problem, and also make sure that we're incorporating their feedback into what we develop. So in terms of, you know, our kind of strategy, going into this in a bit more detail. So this kind of summarizes some of the factors that our customers are facing around regulation, around voluntary agreements, and actually the need to do good business and demonstrate that to their consumers. You know, lots of our customers have got these very broad, big strategies over the next 10 years, but actually being able to demonstrate actionable progress is very difficult without the right data and insights, which we hope we can provide. So in terms of the solutions we want to launch against those areas I mentioned, the first one is responsible design and production. This will help our customers tackle the very growing complex scope of EPR, extended producer responsibility regulations. Currently there's 400 schemes set to be in operation already, and this continues to grow. And plastic taxes in UK, Italy and Spain. These plastic taxes are an additional thing that businesses have to cope with, and they'll have to be reporting on these from the 1st of April next year. So our solution will, the initial intent is to allow them to kind of understand those regulations and make sure that they report correctly against those. But then in time, how do they use those insights to design for circularity? You know, there's lots of different personas that are involved with this type of solution within an organization. And, you know, whilst the compliance team, or EPR experts, as we call them, might have to deal with the initial compliance, actually, how do they then feed those insights into R&D or into the supply chain or into their brand managers to make sure that actually the products that they're producing of the future have more sustainable materials, they're incorporating things like recycled content, or actually it might be a new service-based model. You know, this might make changes to their portfolio overall. Responsible sourcing is a new innovation we're currently looking at and gathering feedback. This is kind of looking at how do we take some of existing SAP solutions like logistics business network and rural sourcing management, and kind of you know, allowing additional traceability for customers across the supply chain. It's increasingly important to understand not just what a business is doing within its four walls, but actually, has it been sustainably sourced? How has that moved through the supply chain? What are the downstream material impacts? And then finally, regenerate. This is something we're kind of looking at again at the moment, leveraging some of our industry cloud solutions that kind of support, you know, innovative new business models that kind of apply to, you know, new circular loops like reuse or recycling.
The one question I have is, your supplier networks tend to be much more what I call MRO, right? Paper, pencils, IT, stuff like that. How are you getting to the packaging or even direct materials, you know, direct procurement? Because I don't see your supply chains, you know, that deep into industry specific operational stuff.
Yeah, well, we're looking at extending our kind of materials, our B2B network, and creating like a sustainability marketplace. We're conscious that, you know, lots of the big CP companies like Coke, they've said that they want to recover all their bottles in Europe, but it's like, how do they actually source that material? Is there enough in the world? At this point in time, it's difficult to tell unless, you know, all of these suppliers and customers are having that information on one network. So we're kind of looking at the moment at who might be some sustainable suppliers, and how do we onboard them so that that material and those feedstocks are available for our customers to kind of understand.
Okay.
Okay, so this is a summary one page of responsible design and production. I've kind of covered most of the key aspects. I think just to touch on some of the benefits for customers, and some of the operational aspects that you talked about, this is around being able to calculate fees and taxes correctly. This is going to cost organizations a lot of money. So it's essential that obviously this is done correctly. Hopefully that will mean some operational efficiencies and how that's being done, because more information will be understood around kind of products and packaging. It will allow them to have insights on, are we delivering our commitments around packaging and about reducing plastic waste? And also, those insights can be used to empower consumers to provide the products that will allow them to make more sustainable decisions. Just to summarize kind of our roadmap and some of the key use cases that we're looking at going forwards. So last year we launched our vision for a clean ocean. So this is really our kind of nature-led ambition that I started with. This year, we're focused on how do we eliminate waste? How do we help our customers through our solution? Media launches on the 8th of November at COP26, which is available on our price list on the 6th of December. We are co-innovating that solution with some of the world's biggest consumer product organizations, including Nestlé. So that's been super exciting to get them involved in our beta phase and kind of incorporate that feedback before it's officially launched. And then we'll be looking at how do we integrate this into our customers' operations and supply chain. We'll be continuing to focus on those new kind of innovative use cases. And then finally looking at how do we incorporate all these insights to help customers to be more sustainable, and looking at what does that sustainable intelligence suite look like, not just for circular economy, but all those sustainability solutions I spoke about at the beginning. And then just to finish with, where we see SAP's value overall. This is a system-led challenge. Our customers, the whole ecosystem needs to have better transparency if we're going to build the regenerative business that we will need in the future. And that's kind of three aspects in terms of the value that SAP provides. So it's providing that transparency. It's about giving our customers, giving our ecosystem insights on the full upstream and downstream supply chain. What's happening to those materials? How are they being used? How do we close or improve that 9% gap in terms of how materials are being reused or recycled today? How do we accelerate that business transformation? How do we leverage the solutions that we already have? And how do we provide those insights to business so they're able to not only achieve their own goals, but obviously collaborate with others to achieve those voluntary agreements, those objectives they're all going to sign up to at COP26, for example. And this cannot be done without a network, without all of these different parties collaborating together. So we believe SAP, being the provider of the world's largest business network, that will really support our mission. And we want to use this to, identify new opportunities for our customers, help them meet their challenges, and also use the circular economy as an actionable framework to drive growth for their business and obviously positive outcomes for nature, and obviously all of us that operate within that. So that's probably it in terms of presentation. So please let me know if you want me to kind of go back, or if you have any specific questions you want to ask.
This is great. Much more encouraging than a decade ago. I still worry though, you're talking a lot about taxes and compliance. It's back office focus. Really, if SAP wants to make a dramatic impact, you need to become a lot more operational. You need to bring in a lot more engineers and chemical engineers and folks who know what they're talking about when it comes to packaging and content, R&D content, and so on. So, but this is a very good start.
And that's why actually when we're doing the co-innovation with customers, we make sure that both the technologist and the relevant business stakeholders are represented in what we're doing. We're gathering feedback. So we are speaking to the people that make these decisions every day in R&D and supply chain, in compliance, in their sustainability team. And obviously those roles vary depending on the customer that we speak to. And obviously looking at other,
honestly, SAP is not well known there in those buying centers. And you keep going in with your partners who are also white collar, back office focused. So it needs a focus, a change in how you go to these buying centers.
Yeah, and that is a change for SAP as well. Traditionally, we would have a conversation with the CIO, but actually you know, this sustainability topic is driving a change in you know, our customers' business environment, and it's meaning we're having to have different sorts of conversations. So yeah, I definitely agree that there's a change, there's a transformation there for SAP to make sure that we are speaking to the right people, to ensure that we understand, well, you know, what insights do they need to make sure to make better decisions. Okay, thanks, Vinnie. Thanks very much for having me today. In terms of finding out more, please check out sap.com/CE. We can find out more information about our strategy and our solutions that will be launching soon.